But Dave, the big football news this weekend, number one, the Chargers. They made news, so we had two kind of coaching
I'm sorry,
hires.
like, can we just retract that statement? They're not the big news of the weekend. The big news is the games actually happened.
Yeah,
Ricky.
the game that actually had, like the games that happened, we will get to the recap, but like off the football news, we had two hirings, and I use hirings in air quotes because we had one official hiring and one, hey, now this team's eliminated. This guy is probably going to be the head coach of one team. The first one was the Chargers. They hired Brandon Staley, who was the defensive coordinator for the LA Rams. And Dave, immediately after this, I had thoughts. I went to Twitter with them. I still believe those thoughts.
Yeah.
But after listening to Lombardi on Hamadan today, he kind of put in a little perspective of why they did this. I still think it's asinine. But for me, the whole thing is, I immediately was like, this is the stupidest move in the world. Why is it that anybody who even like, it's the joke we were using 2 years ago when Lane Kiffin got hired. It's if you have lunch with Sean McVay, you're up for a head coaching job. That's just it. You're probably going to get a head coaching job. Did you order the chicken over the fish? Did you get the steak? Like, what was going on in that lunch? We need to know what was going on. Like, you just know Sean McVay, and boom, you get a head coaching job.
Yeah.
Second off, I thought that Brian Daboll was the perfect coach. Like, this was one where even Dan Orlovsky on ESPN was like, they're just waiting for the Bills to be done in the playoffs. Like, this is his job. And it should be his job because you have Justin Herbert, the best young quarterback in this league.
Yeah. Take him over Trevor Lawrence any day.
Would have been fucking awesome. Like, seeing what's going on with Josh Allen and picture Herbert in that, you're up for success. Apparently, Dave, and this was from Lombardi on Hamadan, he said the reason the Chargers went with Staley over a Brian Daboll is they did not, one of the things they kept saying in coaching interviews is the Chargers did not want to get rid of the offensive coaching staff. They want to keep that entire staff intact because they don't want Justin Herbert to be a quarterback that has four different offensive coordinators in 5 years, kind of a situation. I see what that goes with, but it's like, or you just hire Brian Daboll, he fucking hits with Herbert, sets up a staff that works for him, and that's like, oh great, he had two different fucking coaches in X amount of years. Like, I don't get it. I get it, but I don't get it, kind of a situation.
I mean, especially if, you get the right coach.
Yeah.
That's all it matters. It doesn't matter how many coaches it takes you to get to one, as long as you get to the right coach. The problem with those guys who go through, 4 coordinators in 4 years, I think Kaepernick was or Alex Smith was one of those guys into Kaepernick, which was one of the big complaints about that situation.
Yeah.
Is if you have no sustained success, obviously it looks bad. But if you just get the right fucking coach, you don't have to keep replacing people. It stops. Like, that's the thing about it. So I think it's incredibly cowardly of them to make a statement like that about, oh, well, we just want to, get rid of everybody on the staff and clean house. No. You got to do what it takes to get the right head coach in there, to establish new standards, to get the new guys in. And who knows? He's not a guarantee that he's firing everyone on your staff. Yes, he's sure got friends who he'd like to employ, and he thinks that are brilliant minds. But I'm sure it's not 100% thing. It's not like Daboll's gone out there and said, like, yeah, can't wait to head coach and bring in all my own guys with me. Like, I know it's usually a stipulation of, like, sometimes they do inherit some staff. Sometimes they clean house. There are no guarantees to anything that happens in the NFL these days. So if you were like, I'd like to protect this guy, like our QB coach and our offensive assistant or something like that, like, sure. But I don't know. I'm not a fan of this. I think I'm on the side with you. I would have loved for them to go get Daboll. I think that this is, I'm not going to say a lateral move. It is an improvement, but it's not a dramatic improvement as far as I'm concerned. And again, we will see what happens with the rest of the staff as it's filled in. Because this team wasn't a terrible team last year. They were a team that was poorly coached. Yeah. So we'll see what adjustments, if he brings around a locker room, swing of momentum kind of thing where he's all in, they're all in, everybody's better player because of it. Sure. But I don't know. I'm not thrilled with this hiring.
Well, and it's like, I feel like this is a huge counteraction to what they had, because with Anthony Lynn. I know that Anthony Lynn play calling one of the worst clock managers that we've ever seen at head coach.
Early and often, yeah.
I have a feeling now. It's like, to me, I almost look at it and I go, all right, who's calling plays now? Because that was Anthony Lynn. Anthony Lynn was the guy where it's like, that's why he was managing the clock so badly. And why we had these questions about it. Now you get a defensive coach in there. I'm going to assume he is not calling the plays for the offense. And now that's going to be on OC. Got the name here. Shane Steichen. I hope I'm saying that right. But it's just one of those things where I feel like Dabble, yet again, was the perfect coach to where you see what he's doing with Josh Allen. You see what Air Bear was able to do last season. You're right. Just because you bring in a new offensive coach, system may change. And that was another thing Lombardi said of not just coaches, but they didn't want the language to change. It's like, I'm sorry. Do you think Air Bear is so dense that he can't fucking learn? Like, I get that learning a new offense is tough, but it's not like coming into the draft where we're talking about, man, Justin Air Bear, he's so dense, he can't fucking change anything because he's a dense quarterback, basically saying he's too stupid up here. No one was saying that.
That's ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous, Ricky. I wonder if this was just like a panic move because they feel the clock was running and they're like, if this guy gets to interview somewhere else, he could sign somewhere else. And that leaves us with a Hail Mary of Dabble or nobody. Because Bieniemy has seemingly disappeared. I mean, is he just staying home? Is that what the situation is? Like,
so
I haven't heard any buzz around him.
The thing that, because yet again, Lombardi was asked about it on Hamadan. He said, and this is something interesting that I've heard nobody say. Everyone has jumped on and it's ironic that we bring this up today on the MLK edition of the show, but everyone's jumping to the, he must not be getting the job because he's black kind of a situation. And Lombardi says yet again, they didn't touch that, but he had said something that I've never even heard with a coaching candidate of, he's like, there must be something going on in the interview that is deterring him from jobs. Like, he must be giving a certain answer that teams don't like, because he said when you go into a coaching interview, they want to know a lot of things. Like, they might bring up what happened in the Browns-Chiefs game this last weekend. They may say, all right, 7 minutes left. We're on the 30-yard line. We're down by 8 points. We're going up against the Chiefs. What do you do? Map out this drive for us. What is your play calling for this drive? And if they don't like the answer that you're giving, they're not going to hire you, kind of a situation. So, that's why Lombardi was like, I wonder if there's something being said in the interview that isn't a wrong answer, but it just isn't clicking with a GM or an ownership. So, that's, to me, I'm like, is it something to where they don't think he's going to be a, not leader of men, but hey, you're good at running an offense, but can you lead a football team? Kind of a situation where I feel like everybody that's in the McVay coaching tree, they just assume, you can lead a football team because Sean McVay can lead a football team. We talk about how he is with the character and how he structures that team more than him actually calling plays for that defense. And it's just, with me, I think the Chargers, you're right, this could have been a reactionary move, but when I know that hiring a head coach isn't easy, but if there's a guy out there that works, you do whatever you can to go get him. And I think that Dabble should have been the Hail Mary move for the Chargers, because I said it in my tweet, I'll say it now, we'll be looking maybe 3 years down the line at this and going, remember when they hired fucking that dumbass Staley? Not dumbass because of him, dumbass because he ain't going to pan out. And that's what I don't want to see. I think that what the Chargers are trying to avoid by, hey, we're going to mix up coaches every few years, that is now going to end up happening, because I think Dabble was the right coach. I don't think Staley is the right coach. I think the Chargers are going to stay static and kind of waste some years of Justin Air Bear's life. But one thing before we move on, I do want to bring this up.
Sure.
I would have loved them to do, they're doing the whole, defensive coach, let's keep our offensive staff. Look at what the Jaguars are doing. Did you hear who the Jaguars want to bring in as their DC, Dave?
Oh.
Raheem Moore from the Falcons. Guy that only turned things that. To me, I saw that and I was like, that is fucking perfect. Get Urban Meyer in there, who wants to be a culture guy. Raheem Morris ran that defense very well in Atlanta this year. And yet again, a motivator on the defensive side. Like, yet again, there's some teams I like what they're doing. There's some teams like the Chargers I can't stand.
And you wonder, is this going to set them back for a couple of years?
I mean,
it's missed like this with a young quarterback. Look, you're already in the AFC against literally the two teams in the AFC championship game this upcoming weekend. I mean, we're talking about these two being potential like Hall of Fame level talents. So like you've got two guys under 25, I think 26, maybe whatever, who are, just starting to click.
Yeah.
So your just permanent level of competition is at the roof. Like you literally are at the ceiling. So you have to piss excellence basically in the AFC to compete with these guys.
Yeah.
And that is where I'm going to look back to this hiring and be like, was this the right move in 3 years?
Especially when you have Patty Mahomes in your division.
That was my point. Was Patrick Mahomes and motherfucking
Derek Carr?
Nope. Who's in the championship game?
Oh, the Bills. Yeah. I was talking about like the division alone, just the four teams that they had. Yeah.
You're in the AFC. You got two teams at the top, and everybody else you got to figure out.
Yeah. What I was trying to hit at is the Chiefs are in your division, so odds are they're going to get the 1 or 2 seed, and you're going to get the 5 through 7 because there's no way you're going to be on top of them.
Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes for literally the next decade.
Yeah.
You have to find some way to just put together a legit coaching staff here because you got to build towards that.
Yeah. And JD brings up the point of when the Bengals hired Zach Taylor, Bieniemy was their top candidate, but it came out that he was content being the OC for the Chiefs. And it was the same as last year, so I'm guessing it's the same this year. Yet again, we don't know what's going on. I wouldn't be surprised yet again. You're winning with the Chiefs. Why would I want to leave this job for a job that I'm not going to have success in right away? Bengals, obviously, a little bit different than the Chargers that I feel like.
What's your aspirations? You want to be an assistant coach? Is that your jam? You're like, hey, I don't need to deal with the fucking scheduling for hotels and buses.
Yeah.
That ain't my jam. Give me an offensive sheet. I will run this fucking quarterback through his steps, and we will move the ball up and down the field like clockwork.
Yeah. Or it could be just I'm not leaving until I get the perfect job kind of a situation.
There is that too.